Hello, my friends. Good afternoon, and welcome to our lunch break. And allow me to take a few minutes of your time as we will be sharing and we'll be talking about an important topic which is of interest for us. And before that, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And the name of my YouTube channel is The Contemporary World by Dr. Herbert B. Rosana. So, um, my friends, there's a saying that we have to be politically correct. And sometimes we hear that word said several times, especially when we are discussing about sensitive issues of social importance. The word inclusivity, actually, if we look at the dictionary from the Oxford Dictionary, as I was looking at it, it says here that inclusivity means the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those having physical or intellectual disabilities or belonging to other minority groups. Now, if we are going to apply this to economic terms, or in employment terms, actually, this has great value, the word inclusivity, because our society have to be inclusive, because the opposite of inclusivity is exclusivity. And this concept of inclusivity is a modern value, in a sense that it came about because of the growing globalization, because of the growing interconnectedness of people, because of this global village, and because of the interactions of people from different races, different countries, different cultures, different languages, different religions. So therefore, in order for them to be able to live harmoniously and to be able to have a meaningful interaction, they have to develop a overarching value that will unite them and that will facilitate this interaction in a peaceful manner. That's why they develop this idea of this value of inclusivity. But this word is still very controversial, because there are certain aspects of society where inclusivity may not apply because of the exclusive nature of the organization. And one thing I would like to discuss is, for example, in the church, for example, um, I have heard the word inclusivity being used. They say that the church should be inclusive. But the question is, it raises a lot of eyebrows, not only eyebrows, but important questions about this statement that the church should be inclusive. Inclusive in what way? Because the church itself is not inclusive, but rather it is an exclusive organization. Because before you become a member in that church, there are certain requirements that you have to follow. And once you are a member, you are also obliged to follow the moral teachings or the moral standards of this church. In fact, the church says that it is of the world, but it is not of this world. Meaning to say, it exists in the world, but it is not bound by the antithesis or contrary values of the world. And for example, there are many examples in the church that, where dialogue is still open. For example, like how do we treat or accept same-sex marriage? How do we talk about euthanasia? Are we going to accept same-sex marriage? Because universally it is accepted it is recognized as a human right. But how does it fare with the teachings of the church, wherein the teachings of the church is very clear, because it has its own biblical basis, and it is also based on the clear interpretation. So therefore inclusivity in this matter will not apply. And therefore, this is where the problem exists. And until now, this is still an unresolved problem. The liberals on the other extreme are insisting that the church should be inclusive. and while on the other extreme, the conservative are against it. But in reality, if we have to face reality, and if we have to really recognize the teaching of the church, such kind of practices cannot be accepted. Of course, people of this sort, of this kind of classifications, they are free to attend churches, they are free to attend the activities of the church, but definitely their activities cannot be sanctioned by the church as something which is acceptable, because the church is governed by a dogma. It is governed by a set of moral rules that is derived from the Bible, derived from the traditions of the church. Because if you take this moral character, it will destroy the nature of what the church is. And I think this is the bone of contention in the church today. And before these things can be resolved, there are still many things that needs to be ironed out. And I know how long will this develop, but if you are a Christian, and if you are persuaded that God has given us a commandment, then we truly have to make our stand, and we have to make our explanation to the world reasonable, so that perhaps we could convince them of our argument. But the most important thing is that we need to be able to convey our message in a very rational way, because that's the only way people will understand why we are doing such a thing. So thank you very much, my friend. I hope that I did not take much of your energy because of these controversial issues. People have different ideas about this, but the most important thing is that we are engaged in dialogue. So thank you, and have a nice lunch.